Jaime Diaz joins us now. Jaime, where are you on all of this? Really, where are we in this?
Yeah, I mean, it's great to hear leadership like Mike Wan's there and Fred Perpal's talking about governance and what would the world be without governance in golf. So right now, they are feeling a more anxiety, though, than they have in the past as far as decisions, because there is kind of a unified front against them at the moment. PGA of America, the PGA Tour, the manufacturers. What's in abeyance is where the public is going to come down. Because right now, we're talking about a unified rule, everybody playing the same golf ball. The USGA originally proposed, you know, a model local rule that would only have affected the elite game. But they compromised when the opposition, so to speak, said, no, we don't want bifurcation. We want a unified rule. But now they're saying, well, we're still not happy with that because, you know, there's still these problems. We weren't brought in enough, even though this distance insight thing has gone on for 7 years. They still feel like there's negotiation to be done and there's collaboration. It's a nervous moment. There is a possibility for the first time, really, because, look, David Fay has said, you know, he's a former executive director of the USGA. Yeah. We act with all the authority not vested in us. The USGA does not have ultimate power over these other areas of the game.
You think it's possible that the PGA Tour and the PGA of America could just break ranks and say, we're doing our own thing? And if that happens, what then?
Well, yes. I mean, they're sort of playing chicken right now. But if they don't, the PGA Tour has a lot to lose, I believe, if they don't. Because if the Masters, if the U.S. Open, if the British Open all play by the new rolled back ball, what's the PGA Tour going to do? Not play by that? If they don't, they're playing what could be argued as an inferior level of play because it's not quite as demanding as the new ball would be. And their brand is certainly we're the best golf in the world every week. And they wouldn't be living up to that. Would the PGA of America really want to be alone as the only major not to play? So I think there's a good case that the USGA has leverage here, but it still is to be determined.
Are you suggesting that the PGA of America, the PGA Tour, the stakeholders in the game, they wanted to be involved in the discussions?
Right.
They said, no, we don't want bifurcation, and intimating that they would go along with something that wasn't along those lines. And now then, because they're saying what they're saying, it's almost as if they've negotiated disingenuously?
Disingenuously is the word that comes to mind because they then brought in the general public, the recreational golfer. That was a red line they didn't want to touch. Taking away distance from the average golfer, after everything that's sold to the average golfer is about getting more distance and saying, you know what, you're going to lose some distance. I think that's, you know, a very tough sell. And you could have, you know, a sort of the general populace of golf going, we don't want to go along with this. Plus all the golf balls that are going to be in the marketplace still that would be with the old balls. How long does it take to get rid of those as people play them? How do you regulate all that? So there's no perfect solution here. I understand the model local rule would have been hard to administrate because it would have been at the top of the game, but where does the top of the game end? And it's not an easy thing to find, you know, that line. But I still think it was a better solution because it really dealt with the real problem in my mind, which is the absolute top of the pyramid. The ball's going too far out here. This is why Oakmont's such a great test, because they're actually going to have to, you know, value driving accuracy. It's gotten away from the elite game, and I think this is part of what they were talking about. They're also talking about sustainability and the cost of play and maintaining golf courses and all kinds of things. But to me, that is the real issue right now, and I think that's why the, you know, presentation comes at the U.S. Open when, you know, it's all on display right now. So, I don't know that that was a good faith effort to say, you know, hey, no, you can't do that. You can't do bifurcation. We want a unified rule. Okay, we'll give you a unified rule. Oh, no, you know, we weren't brought in enough. That, to me, sounded like not good faith.
Was bifurcation the answer?
I think it is. I don't know that the rollback, to whatever extent it's going to be rolled back, and we could debate how significant that is. I think the players that are coming out will surpass that in the blink of an eye, and we'll be right back where we're at. That's why I've argued against the rollback. I thought it was...
But this
going for the 1% of the 1% of the 1%,
yeah,
and it was going to be paid for by everybody else in the game. So I just didn't think it enough. So the only thing that makes sense to me, the only way to mitigate what's going to happen coming down the future, because all these college kids, Paul, you've seen these kids, they're coming out, and they're all watching what Bryson DeChambeau is doing. They're going to come out with 130, 35, 40-mile-an-hour club head speeds. That's coming. And if they don't bifurcate, they cannot mitigate what's coming down the pipeline. And all of these golf courses will be drive and wedge for everybody else, for the best players in the world. So, you know, I think bifurcation is what's needed.
Yeah. So that seems to be off the table. It seems from what my research is that they have gone around a lot of the stakeholders, and bifurcation, unfortunately, is off the table, because I think that is a solution. I think the game is bifurcated already. The players are using and what they're using and what it's happening anyway. They're playing different tee boxes. They're playing a different game, let's face it. So this issue is really only to deal with the very, very elite players. It's not really affecting the amateurs. I've looked at all the data. I've looked at all the research. It's negligible a difference it's going to make to the amateur golfer out there. But the companies, the major golf companies, and the PGA Tour and the PGA of America have made them part of the conversation here, and they're really not part of the conversation. This should be about the elite players and holding the elite players back. The ball is going too far. The game is way too easy for these guys. They've never had it easier. And to be honest, the product of professional golf is not that interesting to watch compared to where it would have been 10 years ago, in my belief. There was a lot more volatility. Players hit more shots offline. When a really good player on a PGA Tour golf course gets the lead now, he rarely relinquishes it. And if he gets caught, it's because somebody else makes more birdies. So it's too much front-footed golf. Sport is at its best when it's volatility. So something has to be done. There's been creep year after year after year. It's gone too far. The horse is bolted. They're trying to hold it back a little bit. This is a little small step. I think it could be a lot more in the right direction. And it really galls me that the people resisting it are my fellow professional golfers.
I couldn't agree more.
It really does.
You know, the question boils down to me is you look at the USGA and the RNA and you think, on the whole, over 100 and some odd years, have they been a force for good or not? In other words, do you trust them? Have they not been a force for good? What do we always say up here? Golf, what makes golf great is it's a self-governing game, meaning you choose to follow the rules that the USGA and the RNA have laid out and govern them yourself. What is the PGA of America suggesting, or the PGA Tour suggesting, that they will no longer follow those rules? Okay, so now I don't think most people want to be in violation of the rules when they're at home. I don't think that's the case. So let's just say the PGA of America falls in line and everybody else is, and the PGA Tour is rogue. Okay, so now then the rest of the world is playing regular equipment, the rollback equipment, and the PGA Tour is playing, by comparison, juiced up equipment. So the game will, in effect, organically become bifurcated. Except they won't be playing rollback, they'll be playing, by comparison, juiced equipment. So the idea that the PGA Tour and the PGA of America don't fall in line with the USGA and the RNA, to me, it's one of the worst things I've ever heard suggested. It really is. The game needs strong leadership. This is a step in the right direction from the USGA and the RNA, and it's really sad that the elite professional golfers, 0.0001 of the golfing population, are the ones resisting this. It's really sad that that's what's happening.
I think there'll be a reckoning.
The whole game has been, who's standing up for the game of golf here?
I think it'll be a reckoning.
That's more important than business.
The players will have to come to the reality that they don't run the game. And it could be a good thing for the game.
But this leadership, Fred Perpone, Mike Wong, John Bowden, Shannon Rioux, I mean, you don't think they have the best interest of the game in mind?
Yeah.
They darn sure do.
To be clear, it's not just the golf ball. That 460cc head, you know, we're not taking that away, because a lot of amateurs would just walk away.
You just want to go another hour?
But that's part of the reason we've seen distance explosions.